Hey class, Mr. G here going over today's lesson. Today's lesson is continuing our discussion on the human form. Hey class, alright, so today we're going to be learning more about the human form and drawing the human body and articulation of movement and form and shape. Today we're going over Kung Fu Steve and Kung Fu Stephanie. Now, one of the big things is when you're illustrating the human form and you're dealing with the different sexes, when you're drawing the human form, you're illustrating guys and girls. The big thing that you're having to change is the midsection, the middle torso section. For guys, we're going to do a overlapping large oval with a smaller circle for the waist, because on a guy our waist is much lower, and on the women you want to have a figure 8 formation. The reason is because on girls their waist is much higher up, whereas guys, well, ours is way lower. Big thing to think about as you're getting into this project is fashion. How does fashion work? So for women, you have an A-frame skirt. The way that the skirt is cut, usually it comes below the bust and then it cuts off in the midsection. Here is the high end of the waist for women. For guys, ours is much lower, where we wear our pants on our sides. Also for guys, we have our shoulders. On men's shoulders, notice how mine, they descend downward and it goes in a sloping pattern, whereas women, it cuts off at a very angled right angle shape on the women. So these are little things to think about as you guys are drawing your illustrations, and good luck to you. We are doing work on human figure. Now, we've already done this in one step, working on Kung Fu Steve right here, dividing the body from 8 heads into one body. From that, we went into 3 different variations of Kung Fu Steve. We have running Steve, Kung Fu Steve, and sitting Steve. Now, afterwards, I told you that I need to see 3 more, possibly 5 more. 5 would look a whole lot better than just 3, but 3 is the minimum. Now, today we're going from Kung Fu Steve into Kung Fu Stephanie. So, starting off with some blank paper. I'm going to do this really quickly, so just try and keep up. Alright, starting off with Kung Fu Steve. Gotta write his name first. For Kung Fu Steve, head to neck to upper torso, pelvic area, 2 hips, 2 thighs, 2 knees, 2 shins, 2 feet. Up on the top half, 1, 2 shoulders, upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, pancake hand. Repeat on other side, just like so. Now, Kung Fu Steve. Now, we do this for a couple reasons. We break it up into 2 different pieces. The 2 key factors that we're going to have between our male characters and our female characters are in the shoulders. On the guys, one part is the shoulders. For the guys, we're going to have rounded off shoulders, and our hips are going to, or waistline is done right here, right at the segment between the upper torso and the pelvic area, right about where the belly button is located. That gives us our proper length to how most clothes and fashion is created on a person. Now for Kung Fu Stephanie on the other side here, we're going to be repeating the same steps except for one small design change. Head to neck to upper torso. This time it's just going to be 1 circle, 2 circles in a figure 8 motion. This is going to replace the 2 overlaying ones that we have on Kung Fu Steve, because the female waist is above the navel. This is the hourglass shape. So if you look at how t-shirts are cut and designed, they're all cut in the same manner, where they're pulled inward at the waistline, or the right between the bust and the hip section, where they'd be more flared out. That's how clothes are designed for females. Down on the bottom half, doing the same thing again. Hips, knees, shins, ankles, feet. Shoulders on the top, upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, pancake hand. Just like so. Now we have our Kung Fu Steve and our Kung Fu Stephanie. Give you guys a second to finish copying that thing down. Okay, now, once we've got our Kung Fu Steve and Kung Fu Stephanie all laid out, now it's time to put some clothes on these people. Alright, starting off with Kung Fu Steve. Already we have the hip line, which is indicating where the top of the pants are going to be located, and the shoulder line at the top here. For Kung Fu Stephanie, the one thing I didn't add in is the shoulder line on her. For her shoulders are going to be more squared off. If you look at bone structure on females versus males, due to the fact that we have a muscle structure that is located between the shoulder joint and the neck, it's an arced line that comes up. That's going to be this muscle block that's around the top of your back. I don't know what the name of it's called off the top of my head. If I figure it out later, I'll pop it in the video, and hopefully it'll be down here at the bottom somewhere, and it'll say that there. On the females, they don't necessarily have that muscle group because they don't work that muscle group that often, so usually you won't see it, and the bone structure comes out directly from the clavicle bone out to the from the clavicle out to the shoulder to create more of a right angle joint. All right, next down here on the bottom, so we're going to just draw in a couple lines at the base for where our pants are going to come down to. Upside down V for the inside seam, come down, and just in a rough shape. Does not have to be a direct parallel line, but just coming down to match the base. We're going to give it some flair. Now for pants, I'm drawing. You want to have those little seam creases. We also have our belt line mixed in with our belt inseam, the pockets, a couple belt loops, a couple other lines just to indicate the pants. Now the rest of this can be drawn in, and I recommend that if you did Kung Fu Steve first and then you're doing the clothes on top, to do the design of Kung Fu Steve in pencil, so then when you overlay the clothes on top, it's covering that pencil mark, but then you can also erase it afterwards just to finish it off. Inward V, take it to an M. I'm going to do a bit of a collar, inseam down. It's called your gig line. Those of you that are in the military, study military, anything like that, make sure that your seam comes down all the way straight as a single line. Just looks best. Got her shirt, give him a little pocket. Let's say we want to put a cap on him. My favorite accessory, glasses. Don't forget the shoes. Now my shoe preference is Chucks, just because they're the easiest to draw. Let's be honest here, not going to make it difficult on ourselves if we don't have to. A couple X's, line up, kind of hatching, cross hatching motion. Do a couple loops, one on either side. That'll make it look like you got your sneakers tied. Kung Fu Steve is done. Catch you for Kung Fu Stephanie. Alright, now for Kung Fu Stephanie, let's do an A-frame line skirt. So I'm going to do a swish that's going to be tucked right here behind the hand. And the blouse that comes up, come up nice and tall, and just going to cut right here. Do a short sleeve. Now, coming up, I'm going to do this nice, crisp angle line right here, just to indicate those shoulder marks as it comes up. And we already did kind of our hourglass frame prior, so just go with it again. A couple lines and a bit of color to finish her out. Again, you can draw a pattern design on here however you want. Give her some bangs, knock it back to the back of the head, draw a little ponytail coming off. Just makes it just something nice and simple. We could add some jewelry on here. Again, all done in After Effects with color to finish those things off. Now for shoes, you got a couple things you can do on the shoes. You could do it with a block heel, a chunk heel. You could do it with a spiked heel. You could do it with a stiletto, which is more of just a rectangle. Notice I did a cube, a square, a V, and then a very thin rectangle. That's our only differences really on our shoe heels. Most shoes are all basically the same. I'm going to do these ones as flats, just because it's going to be simple to draw. So then oval, knock off the front of it where I'll block that off, add some lines to it, and add a little bit of color to the body of the shoe. I'm going to leave the top of the shoe open because a lot of shoe tops are open like this. Again, we'll print off some pictures, have some additional things out for everybody to check out, and pass out little flyers. Hope this makes simple fashion choices for you. Take care of business. I'll see you later. All right, class, I hope that you got something great out of that tutorial session. As always, you have a couple things to take care of. If you have a question, comment, or concern, please raise your hand down in the comments below. Otherwise, make sure you take care of your homework. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share on all the various platforms. And as always, I will see you guys next class. Later, guys.